Well, after one of the most contentious confirmation battles we've ever seen, many assume Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh might try to lay low during his first few months on the bench. But last night, he stepped back in the spotlight, where the response he received was anything but mixed. Joining me now, Karl Rove, former Deputy Chief of Staff, of course, to President George W. Bush, and a Fox News contributor. Good evening, Karl.
Evening.
That was a dinner in Washington for the Federalist Society, which, as you know, helped the president as a candidate put together that list of potential Supreme Court justices. Now there have been two names scratched off the list. How significant is it that conservatives are not only excited about Justice Kavanaugh being on the bench despite all the controversy, but moving forward, the Republicans now have a bigger majority in the Senate, not just for Supreme Court justices, but for all these federal nominations the president's putting up?
Yeah, as Senator McConnell says, the Senate's in the people business, and having 53, it looks like 53 members of the Senate to 47 for the Democrats is going to make the process of confirming not only judicial nominees, but also members of the executive branch a little bit easier. 53 is a magic number. It gives the Republicans on every committee a two-person majority rather than a one-person majority. And they've got 30, I think it's 32 judicial nominees who have already come through the Senate Judiciary Committee and are ready for floor action either in the lame duck or in the new session. And there are about a dozen more nominees coming through the Judiciary Committee, I believe, right now. And
you have retiring Republican Senator Jeff Flake this week, who tried to block those nominations, at least in the short term, by saying he wanted it tied to a Protect Robert Mueller special counsel bill. And he's been rebuffed by some of his fellow Republicans who have been Trump critics like Bob Corker. What does that tell you about the mood in the Senate among Republicans to get these judicial nominations through?
Well, there's a lot of enthusiasm to get this job done. There are a lot of vacancies. For some reason, the Obama administration did not fill vacancies. They did so early on in 2009 and 10, but sort of the steam went out of it, so there are a large number of vacancies, and a lot of Republicans see an opportunity to shape the courts in a more conservative and restrained direction for years to come. And so, yes, Senator Flake did make the threat. It was actually not a very meaningful threat because there are 32 nominees who are through the committee, and it's unlikely that there are going to be any additional people who come out through the committee. So all he's doing is delaying the confirmation of those 32 individuals from the lame duck until early next year. So not much impact there.
Karl, we've had about a week and a half for the dust to settle on the midterms. You wrote a very thought-provoking column right after the midterms in the Wall Street Journal, where you basically said it was like, to you, a youth soccer game, as I recall. Everybody went home with some kind of a ribbon. The Democrats got the House. The Republicans strengthened the majority in the Senate. But since then, there's been this move on the left to say it was a much bigger night for them than anyone like you anticipated, and that there really was a blue wave. What say you?
Yeah, well, as I said in my column, the Republicans suffered a grave defeat in the House, and it's only gotten worse since I wrote that column Thursday after the Tuesday election. The Democrats are up to now, I think, 231. There are 3 seats that they lead in. They could end up being at 235 seats, or 34 seats, excuse me, and the Republicans, leaving the Republicans at 201. That's bigger than we thought it would be on election night. Now, admittedly, a large number of them are small, narrow victories. But a narrow victory is as good a victory. And as I said in my column on that Thursday, the Republicans have got big problems in the suburbs. Take a look at the suburban House seats that we lost. The New Jersey suburbs of both New York and Philadelphia, the Virginia suburbs of Washington, D.C., Richmond, and Tidewater, the suburbs of Charleston, South Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, Miami, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, the 2 Republican suburbs in DuPage County, suburban Republican congressman gone, and the Democrats elected their first county-wide official in DuPage County, a Republican stronghold, since 1934. And you keep going west, Houston, Minneapolis, St. Paul,
but Karl,
Dallas.
pardon me, what's the answer then? What do you think is the answer? How do Republicans deal with that? And should they take solace in the fact that it's up to, we think, 53 in the Senate?
Yeah, they should take solace in that. And that was because we had a red map. As I've said many times during the course of the campaign, you could go back to 1914 and the first election in which we voted for senators by popular vote, not legislatures, and you will never find a map as favorable to the party in power as this map was. But our success there, and I think we're going to build on that success in 2020 and maybe add 1 or 2 more seats, that shouldn't hide the fact that we got a problem in the suburbs. There's no easy answer to it. Our problem is with college-educated voters, particularly college-educated women. And if we don't solve that problem, it's going to be hard to get the House back.
Karl Rove, breaking it down better than anyone. Appreciate you coming in tonight.
Thanks for having me, Ed.
All right, a school officer